we're live. All right. Welcome,
Hello.
guys. Welcome. I am
Good to be
glad
here.
you're all here. Yeah. So I'm here with Mike Gaffney, attorney Michael T. Gaffney, and not attorney Doofy. Right. And we're going to talk about like an uncomfortable subject tonight. I have been putting this off for an entire year now. Look at everybody's already like, oh my God, Gaffney. That is a surprise. People were not expecting to see Gaffney. I guarantee that. But he's here. And we're going to talk about Aidan Kearney of Turtleboy Sports. So as you guys know, or maybe some of you don't, I used to write for a trashy little gossip rag from Massachusetts called Turtleboy Sports. It's kind of how I got started making content in the first place. And a year ago, as of I believe it was February 12th, I decided to leave Turtleboy Sports. I was unhappy. And we'll go through actually the real reason that I left. And when I left, Aidan would not accept that at face value. And he immediately started a campaign of just nonstop harassment, following me around the internet, creating defamatory lies about me, putting out some stuff was true that he put out, but it was very personal information that I had either told him in confidence or, was not for public consumption. And for a long time, I said, well, if I just ignore him, he'll go away, right? But it's been a year now and he's not going away. And I see comments a lot like, hey, your content has really taken a backslide. The quality's gone down. Why aren't you posting as much? Like, you cancel all the time. And I'm here to explain that the reason is because after a year of this shit, it has started to wear on me. And I didn't want to admit that out loud at first because, they say like, don't let the person know that they're bothering you. Don't give them that power or it's going to get worse. But after so much time, like, I don't think it can get any worse. And definitely ignoring it hasn't worked. So Michael Gaffney, what the fuck? Do you hear that terrible echo?
No,
I do.
I don't.
Yeah. Okay. Let me try this. Yeah, it's 100%. It's Gaffney. So Gaffney, I just muted you. You can unmute when you talk and we'll meet you back up. And he's like, sure. So Michael is with us today actually because Michael Gaffney was Aidan Kearney's first real victim with this stuff. He also used to work with him under the blog, also decided at some point that he was done, didn't want to deal with it anymore. And Aidan with him as well said, nope, this is going to be on my terms. You don't leave me. And he started the same thing. He started just defaming him all over the place. And actually, in Michael's case, Aidan has been obsessively posting about him and following around his life for, I believe, 3 years now?
Longer than that, but it started when he first started his blog. He ran up to me at a parade. Counselor Gaffney gave me a size medium T-shirt as long as it was fitting a medium. And he was like all starry-eyed. And after that, it was, the guy built a lot of his blog around me. In fact, when I decided to leave, which triggered his abandonment issues, which is the same thing that happened with you. He lost his mind and started a nonstop smear campaign. The smear campaign's been about 3 years. But we were kind of in a team mode for about 2 years prior to that.
Right. And yeah, like I'm already saying like, oh, Gaffney wrote blogs against his detractors. Look, when it comes to the blog itself, nobody that is involved with the blog walks away with their hands clean. Like, let's just make that explicitly clear. Okay. There is plenty of stuff that goes on when you were involved with this blog that you look back and go, probably shouldn't have done that. To my knowledge, I don't believe that he actually wrote at all.
Yeah. I want to be very clear on that. I wrote one blog and put my name on it. So at no time was I writing blogs on my detractors. That was Aidan. I mean, I was part of the Turtleboy group, but that was about it. So.
Right. And obviously, like, I'm standing up here saying I did write blogs and, my hands are certainly not clean in some of the blogs that I wrote. So I was going to start. And guys, just so that we're aware, I'm going to be going through a lot of documentation, screenshots of text messages. We have some police reports, actually medical records. And I'm going to put a link in the description for the Dropbox so that you can go through this at your own leisure, because, we do like to bring receipts, and with this, we certainly have. So I wanted to start with the reason that I actually left the blog. Now, Aidan had spread a story around that I stole money from him, which is categorically untrue, and I'm able to prove that pretty easily. But I did want to go back and just kind of show you guys sort of what was happening before the advertising money discrepancy even happened. So again, these might be a little small on the screen, but these are some screenshots of a group message that we had. It was called the Big Eight. And this is around the time he wrote a series of blogs and a woman from Warwick named Amanda Sawyer. And the blogs quickly got uncomfortably personal. It went from, at first he was writing about a woman that, like, she wrote weird stuff on the back of her car. She drove around. She was making some wild accusations against the police. It was humorous. And she fought back and, did not like the blogs and argued with him about it and engaged with him, which is the worst thing you can do with Aidan. So they started to get, progressively more dark and personal. And it culminated in him writing a blog that was accusing her of some pretty serious child neglect. There were no records because obviously, DCYF and any sort of child protective records are not public record. There was no real indication. The only thing that he had as proof of this were some allegations in text messages that almost looked doctored. I don't know if they were or not, but they looked suspect to me, between her teenage son and his girlfriend. And I was bothered by that because, number one, the text messages, they looked weird. They looked a little photoshopped to me. I pointed that out to him, as well as, like, teenagers are notoriously unreliable reporters. Like, if that's the best evidence that you have is the word of a teenager, then you're not really swimming in great evidence here. So I had started messaging him, and hold on, I'll make this full screen. I had said, I hate the Amanda Sawyer level of drama, but I can empathize with the level of humiliation she must be feeling. She definitely knows what she's doing, but the reason she's doing it seems very serious to her. You're condemning her for being devious when she feels she's under attack, but you know damn well you are capable of being devious for the same reasons. I don't think she's doing this for shits and giggles. I really, truly am convinced I think she is really and truly convinced that this is how to get what she's feeling stopped. And what I'm talking about is she started to mass report his posts, just all of his posts, just mass report them. And he was very, very upset by this, and he wanted to go to war with this woman and get even dirtier. And I had asked him several times, like, why don't you just take down the blogs, right? But of course, he's not going to do that, even though I spoke to the woman and she was clearly under distress, right? So this is him right here. This is a page that he was under called Cynthia Marie Sanchez. And after we read through these, I can show you proof actually that he was Cynthia Marie Sanchez. Although if there are any of his loyal readers and trolls in the comments, you know that he is. That is one thing that gets a little bit confusing about this too, guys, is that Aidan operates under a copious amount of aliases online. It's hard to keep up with. But he says, I get it. And yes, Suzanne is crazy herself. Now, what he's talking about here is Suzanne Arundale. And this is a woman who is probably donated thousands of dollars to his blog, but this is how he talks about her behind her back. She's a running joke on the West Warwick pages, completely delusional. Said she was going to get me in touch with Tulsi Gabbard. Periodically asked me if Tulsi ever called. I'm going to guess she didn't. I said, those are the type of people who love this punching down bullshit, to be honest. They're garbage people who want to feel slightly less like garbage, but instead of getting up to bring their own lives up, they sit behind the keyboards and fixate on the people they can find who are below them. And he said, exactly, she supports the blog, right? So because one thing you're going to see as we go on through these screen messages and everything is that he really cares mostly about money. That's what it is. And I said, do what you want. It's your circus. I'm blocking her and moving on from it. I apologize. I can't dehumanize people at will. To which Aidan Kearney responds, I can. What the fuck? I mean, proudly, absolutely proudly. And then this stuff really started to grate on me after a while, because I'm writing the blogs that he wants me to write. And I just wanted the opportunity to be a writer. And it was selfish. And I was able to compartmentalize and start viewing the people that I was writing about as like characters almost, right? And forgetting that like they're actual human beings behind the screen. And at some point it started to just really hit me, because as I've been pretty open about it at this point, and he certainly has put out, 10 times more dramatically than it really is. Like, I'm not a perfect person either. And I did not feel comfortable shitting on people all the time and possibly causing them psychological distress. So he goes on to say, her, Ryan, Gaffney, many more, could care less if any of them stopped existing tomorrow. Do they think about the psychological or financial effect their behavior has on me? And what he's talking about is people who are suing him for defamation, reporting his page because he's, essentially bullying people. Like, they're not doing anything terribly over the line. They're fighting back when they feel cornered because he does attack people. And of course, he goes on to say, I've left her alone. I didn't mention her name in the blog today, yet she still does this, talking about the mass reporting. Because, he accused her of child neglect with nothing more than some questionable screenshots between two, I think, 15-year-olds. Like, I take it down on what kind of precedent does that set. So he's much more concerned with, I can't take down these blogs because it will set a, precedent, I guess, that anyone can get a blog taken down. So he goes on to say, if Kirk and Jerry, and he's talking about Kirk Minihane and Jerry Callahan, which are local radio hosts, had just stopped talking about things Bob Merchant didn't approve of, they'd still work at WEEI, which is the radio station. It goes against everything I fundamentally believe in. And I said, I think I don't want to have this sort of effect on other people, period. I'm angry at her. She just compounded negative feelings I've already been having about all this shit anyway. But the anger doesn't kill the compassion in me. She's obviously sick. All this for the high crime of being eccentric in public. That's what it boils down to. It's your blog. I'm not going to argue it any further. So, right here, and this was shortly after the break, you can see, we are having a serious breakdown here. And we're just not agreeing on things. And I'm genuinely uncomfortable at this point. And he goes on to say, she's attacking my livelihood. Fuck her. She's not human to me. And I said, Jesus Christ. right. Really, it's just, I don't understand how you can proudly proclaim that you can dehumanize people at will. And it's something that I had to live with every day that I was taking part in it, knowing that I'm at my core, I'm a garbage human being too. Okay. Why do I want to swing down on people? The blogs that I'm proudest of that I wrote for him, I was sticking up for people. I stuck up for a mother who got herself clean off of meth and just wanted to see her child and had, her name smeared across the internet because the father was disgruntled. I stuck up for, victims of domestic violence and animals, and swinging down was just something that I did because I felt like I had to do it to, continue my career in writing, if you want to call it that, because we'll get into how it really wasn't a career at all. And he's a little bit disingenuous about how well he's doing. But, to continue that, I was willing to kind of sell up my own moral compass. And it just came to a head to where I did not want to do it anymore. And that kind of started. And I started talking to people and being like, I just, I'm not comfortable. How do I get out of this? And I knew that it was going to be pretty hard to do. Now, this is another issue that we had. And another thing that I did. So he came across a GoFundMe. There was a couple that had, there was a bolo that went out for a missing little girl that was kidnapped somewhere in the Western Mass area. And there was a bolo that went out for the vehicle that snatched her up, and people were looking for it. And a couple actually saw the kidnapper and the child on the highway. So they, against all advice and better judgment, really stepped up, and they followed this kidnapper and called the police and tried to stay on them and, aided in this little girl being rescued. So they ended up doing some damage to their vehicle in that. And there was a GoFundMe started on their behalf. Now, the couple that had done it had already publicly stated, listen, guys, we're not asking for money. We don't want any money. But an older lady had taken it upon herself to do it anyway. And there was a young girl who had kind of aided her in putting this together and was sharing it. So right off the bat, and right here we have Philip Prentice. This is another alias of Aidan's. Right off the bat, Aidan sees the younger girl who had shared the GoFundMe, and she is a CNA, and she has tattoos, and she's young, and she does the duck face selfies that we all do in our 20s. And he goes, this is fraud, and I'm blaming her for fraud. And I said, hold on a minute. So I said, I'll run the name Jana Coddle and see if anything comes back on it, because right now he's blaming this girl with the first name of Janelle, but the GoFundMe itself is clearly under the name Jana Coddle. So without even wanting to run the name, he's blaming this girl. And I'm like, hold on a minute. Right. So, he's looking, and they're looking and saying, well, it's already raised $822. So, he goes, fuck it, I blame Janelle. you just randomly come across it or someone sent it to you, right? Because Jana Cottle was a real woman. She was an older woman. And, you know, I'm looking up and saying, well, you know, that's her name. And he is ready to just go blame this girl for nothing. And you know, so I did explain to him in the messages, look, like, you know, I don't know if it's fraudulent. I know that this woman did make it. I messaged her and asked her if she made it. She's saying that, yes, she did. And he responds by going, does that mean I can't blog about Janelle? Right. And I said, I mean, why would you? She didn't create the GoFundMe because, you know, that was what he was. And of course, at this point, like, I can't stress enough, there's no hard evidence that it's fraudulent. Right. Is it kind of weird? Yeah. Do sketchy things happen with GoFundMe? Absolutely. But like, you should have some evidence of fraud before you start calling things fraudulent. And certainly just because you don't like the way a girl looks doesn't mean that you blame her. And he goes on to say, she did share it immediately, to which I respond, and he goes, kind of spreading a lie, fraud, intentional or not. Kind of like sharing those pumpkin spice mafia posts. And I said, seems like a reach to me, to be honest. Because he's just so dead set on blaming this girl for what? And he goes, yeah, I'll write it up in a humorous way without shitting on her. And I said, I don't even know that the lady who started the GoFundMe meant to be fraudulent. No matter what, it's still going to feel like if she's being shit on. And then he spins around and goes, well, the lesson here is simple. Don't let old people near the internet. Grandma doesn't know how any of this works. Right. And again, like, that is just somebody who, that's not journalism. That's not responsible. Right. That is saying, I don't like the way that someone looks and I would like a sensational story about GoFundMe fraud. So I'm going to go ahead and just spin my narrative the way that I want it to be. And then when I finally push him and say, like, no, that's not responsible. Like, there is no evidence that this Janelle girl made it at all. The woman who did make it is admitting that she made it, and there's no proof that it's even fraudulent. He said, well, I'm just going to go ahead and write something up anyway, but it won't be shitting on them. Like, I'm sorry, but as soon as you end up in a Turtleboy blog, like, you're getting shit on. That's what he does. You know, you get singled out, you're publicly shamed. That's what he did. Yeah. I mean, sorry about the banners, Tim. Yeah. Okay. So this, and then of course, he would say things like this, which would also bother me. Our readers are so dumb. Right? Like, are you kidding me? These people give you a ton of money. Like, he doesn't have a job. This man is unemployed. He has been unemployed since 2016, I believe. Don't quote me on that exactly. I don't want to be as inaccurate with him as he has been with me, but he's been unemployed for quite some time. These readers that he's calling dumb literally pay his bills. Oh, we get to how much they pay his bills. What I suspect how much they pay his bills, like, they're doing a lot for this guy, and he thinks that they are dumb. It's just really ridiculous. This is another issue that I had. So there was a woman who recorded a phone conversation that she had with a woman that Aidan was writing about. She shared this recording with Aidan. Now, we live in a two-party state. It is a felony to record somebody without their permission and without their knowledge in Massachusetts. So this woman records this conversation while Aidan is writing these blogs, so essentially to his benefit, and gives him the recording. So she is now committed a felony, allegedly, I'm going to say, because unfortunately, the story gets worse. So he decides, and I don't know why he would ever do this other than he is selfish and he does not care what happens to other people. He decides to disseminate that recording. So the person that was recorded now obviously is going to be aware that she was recorded because it's been disseminated everywhere. So he disseminates this recording, and obviously it doesn't take a rocket scientist for the person who was recorded to figure out who recorded them, right? Because it's a two-person conversation. So she goes to the police, and the woman who recorded her ends up taking out criminal charges, now felony charges, through the police, right? So I tell him about this, and he is very much like, oh, she'll be fine. She doesn't seem that worried about it. And I'm obviously like, this is fucked up. So the police never charged Aidan with disseminating, even though they really could have. So the victim here, alleged victim, goes down to the courthouse and fills out a criminal complaint herself. He gets it, right? And And he is panicking. How could she do this, right? And he is going, well, this isn't the police charging me though, is it? And I said, to be fair, you did disseminate it, right? This woman is taking the heat for you. And he absolutely would have 100% thrown anybody under the bus to get out from underneath this. He took absolutely no accountability whatsoever, nor did he attempt to or even offer to help this woman who is facing felony charges for something that essentially he benefited from. He made money off of that. So, I mean, these are just a small percentage of some of the things that I took issue with. He also did things like, this, and I'm going to share, this is a 30-second clip, and this is the sort of stuff that I would watch him do, and I would just get absolutely grossed out. So I'll share this.
I'm going to kill myself because of you.
Can you live stream?
Trying to ruin my life. My girlfriend's family knows about it now, and I'm hurt.
Live stream. Live stream that shit.
Know about it.
You're going to kill yourself.
I'm not going to threaten that.
Okay, so are you going to...
why?
How come you haven't killed yourself yet? I'm still waiting on that. Who's that bitch boy in the background? Is that the guy who's fucking you in the ass right now? Is that the guy who's fucking you in the ass? Bro, how hard is he fucking you right now?
I know.
Who's fucking who here? Are you fucking him or is he fucking you? Is he fucking you? Is he raw dog? Is he wearing a condom? Is he wearing...
So yeah, that's the kind of shit that this guy does. And it's gross, right? Like, it's just gross. Like, his justification for this is, well, he was a heroin dealer. Like, okay, fine. So he's a heroin dealer. Like, you can't be going into goading people into killing themselves. Like, what the fuck? And live stream it? Like, are you kidding me? And that's the sort of shit that, like, I didn't want to be associated with anymore. I'm sorry, but like, that's just, I had to live with every day that's the sort of shit that I was engaging with. I was helping him make money. And honestly, I can say I did not make any money during, thank you so much, SRT to go. I appreciate you guys so much. It's just for showing up though. You don't need to give us any money, but I contributed to this. He was making money. He paid me $200 a month. And I did not always get paid on time. Most of the time, there would be, maybe he'd pay me every 2 months. Maybe he'd pay me 3 weeks late. Maybe I'd have to bug him for so I wasn't making money off of this. I was essentially just sitting back and making money for him and feeling sick to my stomach about it.
Wait, hold it a second. He didn't know who you were though, right? Because during his deposition, he testified that he only got blogs from these people anonymously by these burner accounts, and then sent out money to these made up PayPal accounts with who knows what name was on it. That was the lie that he actually said under oath. I mean, that's just Aidan for you.
Yeah, and I mean, we can go through a lot. I mean, he's told a lot of lies, and I think that we're not really fully aware. People aren't fully aware of what a prolific liar he is. But luckily, like I have proof. So, yes.
Can I just just as an example? And I told you about this one earlier, and it just points out exactly how he's disingenuous. So he was posting how my parents died, and said that I wasn't invited to the funeral. Well, first off, my father is still alive and well, and my mother did pass away, but she was cremated. So it wasn't a lie that my parents passed away, but it was a lie that I wasn't invited to the funeral, and then the follow-up, which means that they had to hate me. It's just the way Aidan will take a fact and completely warp its context to suit whatever needs he has to do to suit into his destruction of other people. That's just the way he operates.
Yeah. And Wilma Dickford is asking, didn't I donate back to the community? Yes, I took my blogging money and I would donate it to different causes, because at the time, and still, I mean, I work a full-time job. I pay my own bills without blogging money. You know what I mean? Like, to me, I've loved to write since I was a kid. I was pretty good at it. When I was in high school, I won some awards. I self-published some books. It was a passion of mine, and I had never been able to write for an audience before. So when he reached out to me and asked me to do that, I was like, absolutely. You know what I mean? And I wanted to be a writer. And it wasn't until maybe a year into writing for him that I really figured out, full force that I was never going to be a legitimate writer, and certainly not the avenue that I chose through Turtleboy Sports, because the association was just absolute. Not that I was ever going to be a career writer anyway. Like, that ship has sailed for me, but definitely the sliver of a chance I might have had as soon as I hitched my wagon to Turtleboy Sports, that was absolute suicide. Yes, Wilma, I did acknowledge that. Yes, the money that I received for blogging, I donated back to the community. I will throw the receipts in Dropbox if you don't believe me, but yes, I always did. So about, I believe it was September maybe of 2018. I think 18, maybe 19. I noticed I had started writing about Josh Abrams, and I noticed that the only way that I could get to his audience was through YouTube, because I was writing blogs and they weren't reading them. So I started doing some YouTube streams, and immediately right off the bat, I was pulling in a bigger audience than Aidan had been on YouTube. So I discussed with him, and I said, look, you're concerned about making money. You're saying that you're on the brink of poverty all the time, that you have to shut down the blog. Josh Abrams is able to make some money on YouTube. I can't imagine why we can't, and we can do it the right way. So he was skeptical at first. And then when he started to see the audience growing, he said, you know what? I shouldn't have doubted you. Yes, do a show. So we started doing a show. And when I started doing the show, I immediately, I fell in love with video editing and the production behind it. It was kind of the thrill of being the anti-hero blogger, but without some of the punching down bullshit that I didn't like. I could just focus on auditors. There was a ton of material on auditors. It was something that I felt like the playing ground was more level. They are, self-appointed public figures, as was I. There wasn't the same sort of just nastiness and vitriol, and it saved me from having to troll Facebook groups all day and pick up people's posts from 2010. You know what I mean? It was more enjoyable to me. So I got a group of people together and we started producing these shows. And I said, if we're going to do a show, I want to make sure that we can put as much behind, I just want to be good at it. You know what I mean? I want to make sure that we have production value. I want to learn what we're doing. I want to do it properly. And so we did. So at some point, I did a show, and there were over 600 people watching, which there has never been an audience that large on Turtleboy Sports. I don't think that there has been since, honestly. So he, of course, is salivating at this. And we're in the middle of doing the show, and he starts spamming his PayPal link. And I was annoyed, visibly, because we're doing a show on auditors and we're quite critical of e-begging. And here's this guy that sees this audience, most of which they had tuned in for the first time ever, right? Because we had never had an audience that large. So the people are checking this out for the first time ever, and they're getting smacked in the face with requests for donations, which I think is I think it's tasteless. I think it's desperate. I think if you're trying to, just from a business standpoint, from what little I know about this, right? You want to build rapport with your audience. You want to build brand confidence, right? You don't come with your hands out and say, you owe me something. It's, I owe you something. And then over time, if you're giving them, an entertaining quality product, you can start to ask for some support. But right off the bat is just so off-putting. So I was annoyed, and I low-key instructed the moderators to start deleting the link. And this, of course, set him off whoa. So he ended up calling into my show in the middle of, we were talking about a topic. He calls in a million times until I finally answer on the air, and he proceeds to verbally beg for money. And I was fucking ripshit afterwards. Absolutely fucking ripshit. That was embarrassing. And it wasn't just the embarrassment. It was also that I was in a room with 4 or 5 other guys that were coming out every single Sunday to produce this show. We were spending money on equipment and the space that we were streaming from and everything else out of our own pockets. He didn't have to put a dime into this, and they have to watch him push his PayPal and push his fundraiser, right? And they're not getting paid. So we got into a bit of an argument, and I said, you know what? I have never done this for money, Aidan. I have never done this for money. However, I would like to pay these guys that come out, at least so they can break even. So we went back and forth, and we finally decided on a split of 75% to the show, 25% to him before expenses. Okay. So he doesn't have to absorb any of the expenses. He doesn't have to show up and do any of the work. He's not learning the production skills or anything like that. He is just simply getting 25%. So I want to find this because this is going to go into the, this is going to go into the whole accusation of theft. So I thought that I had placed it in there, but I guess I did not. Yep. So here we go. So this is what he told me and the guys. And this is important because this is going to play into the lie that he told about stealing money. So he said, oh, what do you think about it? Quiet. Thank you. Hold on just a minute.
Well, since we have technical difficulties on Kate's end of it, I figured I'd just fill in for a few minutes. Is she back? Nope. Still some dog barking going on there.
Apparently,
listen,
yeah.
If it's not solved, hey, I'll throw in a couple of things here. Just just a little entertaining nuggets about Aidan, because I know he wrote a bunch of blogs, particularly about his wonderful deposition, and he said how he got to swear and act like a punk during the depo. What he leaves out, and it's very interesting that he left it out, is that the first deposition was actually interrupted. Attorney Melican, basically he was just coming undone, so she just kept objecting and then wanted to run down and talk to the judge about it, which I said was fine. So it was actually discontinued, and when we did actually see the judge, she stood there and said how frightened they were of me and how intimidating I was and everything else. So the second deposition actually had to be video recorded. So when Aidan pretends that he was this tough guy, which he loves to do, the truth of the matter is he was actually hiding behind Margaret and the judge as well. I just always found it humorous how he likes to spin things. And that's one of them. I mean, we're about to get into his little raging here, and I just thought I'd fill in with a little tidbit and let Kate get back to talking.
I appreciate that. So he said to me and the guys, we figured out a rev share for this moving forward. You guys get 75% of all revenue raised during the show. I don't care how you raise it. Sell your own merchandise, ask for donations, whatever you want to do. I would suggest starting a fundraiser and urging people who are inclined to donate to give that instead of on YouTube, because YouTube takes 30% and it's better that you get that money as opposed to $1 billion tech monopoly who will actively try to screw us over as this grows. So Aidan claims that I went behind his back, that I took $300 from an advertiser that should have gone through him first, and that I pocketed that money. That is not the truth at all, because right here we can see he was very explicit in telling us, monetize however you want, do it yourself, which is what we did. And we did that until the bitter end. And I'm sorry, I'm going to show you how we actually paid it as soon as I can find it, because we did have a system worked out here. Here we go. So I'm going to switch over to this one. Okay. So this is how we would pay out. And this is at the end when he's calling somebody a ratchet, and I reminded him that I am ratchet and I smoke Newports. That's another thing that annoyed me, is he really acted like I was on some sort of pedestal. Anything that he knew about my past, with my children, with my marriage, and is because I told him, and I told him up front, because I am a ratchet. But right here, as you can see, what I would do is I would send him a spreadsheet. So it would tell every dime that we made, Patreon, YouTube, merch. This particular one was before we even had an advertiser. But so we would put everything together. We would total it up. Then we would minus 25 gross. So gross, again, that's before expenses. And then we would tell him how much he owed us from the AdSense that was under his name. So this is what we did pretty consistently. And he never had anything bad to say about it, or anything really to say about it at all. The real reason that he was upset with me is because he felt that I undercut him. He was upset that I charged Chris Riggs $300 a month for advertising. And I was very explicit in explaining to him why I did that. Because number one, Chris Riggs was still advertising with him at $600 a month. And I did not feel that it was right to double dip into his pocket like that. Chris had offered to sponsor us numerous times before I did decide to take him up on it. What I did was I went through the industry standard CPMs for a, call out, read out advertisement on a podcast, which is kind of what it was. And it was somewhere between $18 and $25 per thousand. So I did out the math and said, okay, $300 is, what would be fair. And he was very upset with me on this because he wanted me to charge at least $1,000. And I tried to explain to him numerous times that I was just extremely uncomfortable charging anyone $1,000 because it wasn't worth it. And he would tell me, oh, well, they'll get leads back and we have a really, great audience and they're loyal and they'll buy things. And I'm not saying that's not true, but it was way too early for me to do that. And essentially all we were doing was we were trying to pay the rent, right? And I told him at one point, and gotta get out of full screen and share this. I told him at one point, like, we're just trying to cover our expenses, right? Like, this is not a windfall. This is just paying our rent. Like, that's it. And he, was obsessed with, well, it's my channel, which is fine. It was his channel, but we were doing exactly what we were supposed to. Now, oh, come on, Jake. I know it's crazy, but we don't have to talk about it. Shh. Okay. I did point out that he, out of his own mouth, made $100,000 and he's griping over Chris Riggs $300 a month. This was the point in which shit started to go downhill. So he, and I'll show you this too. Some of the stuff is like, honestly, kind of embarrassing to show just because like the insanity that I was entrenched in. Like, the time I was 31 years old, like, or 32 years old, like, you should know better. And I don't know how I got stuck in this, but, hold on just a minute. So long story short, anyway, while I'm finding this, I told him at this point, pretty much like, go fuck yourself. Like, we have been helping you, for a very, very long time and not asking you for anything about it, and we really just want to do the show. We're not looking to make $1 million. I'm not saying that we won't make money for you at some point, but I don't feel comfortable coming out of the gate with a brand new product, with a brand new show and just asking people for their money, right? Like, I would rather perfect what we're doing, get our content right, make sure that, like what we're doing is quality and that people stick around too, because the nature of the internet is something could be really, really interesting to people one day. And then they forget about it the next, it just does happen like that. And it happens quite often. And, you can't rely on it. And he really did expect that, like right off the gate, we would just put our hands out and start making him money. And another thing to remember with this is when we started, he had probably 3,000 subscribers, right? Like that's about what he had on his channel. By the time that we were done and finally left and split up, he had 10,000. So those were brand new people that were coming in that were not necessarily familiar with Turtleboy Sports. They were coming for what we were doing. Like they weren't established followers. So it wasn't a good look what he was trying to do. And I didn't want to continue to do it. And he just wouldn't listen. Now I'm trying to find, I'm so sorry.
Kate, can I just want to remind everybody the right here, the answer, it's the Turtleboy channel. I own Turtleboy. And lest anybody forget, prior to this, he was publicly always saying that he just ran the advertising company. I mean, as you read from his deposition, that's what he actually testified to. That's what he would go into court when people would bring matters forward against him and say he wasn't Turtleboy. And then all of a sudden one day he decided to say, I am Turtleboy. And then he wrote a book about it. Just, I don't know, 10, 15 people bought it, but whatever. He did write his book that he pushes all the time, which just goes to show if you're buying anything that this guy is selling, he's lied to you about everything from day one.
Jake is like, really, oh my God, wouldn't it be like some shit if Aidan was outside my house right now? I'm just kidding. He's not, but, so, he starts texting me incessantly.
He's not even at his house, Kate, right now. I think he might've gotten tossed.
I don't
know.
I'm
sure you'll get there.
I don't know. Trust me, like I really, as counterintuitive as it is, I don't wish for anything terrible to happen to him because I feel like the more bad stuff that happens, the more that he takes it on me and my family, honestly. So he starts texting me incessantly. And essentially what he's trying to do at this point, because I've said, forget it, I'm done. I sent him some text messages and said, like, take my logins off your pages, your channel, your website, like just everything. I'm done. Right. So he starts to kind of beg and say, like, you have a bigger audience than me and you're charging half the price. Look at it from my perspective. How long until he realizes you'll give him more eyeballs for less money and ditches me? This is why I wanted to discuss it before making a deal with him. We can't just change arbitrary prices. I wouldn't have as much of an issue with it if you were charging him $1,000, or if it was a new advertiser, you charge $3,000. It's the fact that he knows what I charge. It feels like undercutting from my perspective behind my back. And he goes on to say, I would hope you wouldn't, if you want to quit over that, I can't stop you. I would hope you wouldn't, because I appreciate everything you've done for me personally and professionally. I don't even care if you blog. I'd pay you $200 just to be my friend and confidant. I feel like I've rubbed you the wrong way for a while now, and tonight was the culmination of what was coming. Right. Like, which is true. Like, that's clearly what was happening. Right. And he can't acknowledge that now, but that is what was happening. And that was just the final straw. So what happened was, when all this didn't work, this, kind of begging and, saying nice things about me, and I'll go through, ironically, he actually sent me a text message and told me that I was a good person and a good mother and all these things that obviously he's taken back now. But when he realized that wasn't happening, he switched over to attack mode, and we have been there ever since. Now, one thing that I did do is I opened my mouth when I heard that he was accusing me of stealing, because it wasn't true. And I started to spill some of his secrets because I was upset about, and I had been pushing this down and keeping it in for a while, things that honestly disturbed me. The first of which was that he presented his blog as having, like, I think 6 to 8 different bloggers. Some of them were male, some of them were female. They all had different names and different personalities and political affiliations, and they didn't exist. It was just him. And so I said it was just him pretending to be people, and I showed the proof, and he actually had went up and said, yeah, I lied about it, but is that a big lie? Like, it is a pretty big lie, right? To pretend to be other people. And it's a bigger lie because he was using the fake bloggers that were all just him in court and saying, you can't sue me for that blog because I didn't write it. South Shore Turtle Girl did. Right. But South Shore Turtle Girl does not write for him. Or he would say, I didn't write that blog. Western Mass Turtle Girl did. But she did not write that blog. It was him. So he got upset, obviously, by that. And I had also brought up that he had, and I had helped him do this, raise money over a legal issue that he had going on that involved a victim of domestic violence. He had written a blog about the domestic violence, which honestly was a very, it wasn't exactly sticking up for the victim. He pretty much put it out and said, I'm gawking at this dumpster fire. She's making accusations against him. He's making accusations against her. Who knows? They're both garbage, right? So he writes this blog, and the male that was featured in it ends up suing him. So he defaults at first, doesn't show up to court, just ignores it. And then, comes to me one day and panicking because, oh my God, there's a default judgment. I'm going to have to go into court. And he sends me the complaint. So I go over it and I'm like, who is Samantha Cardin? And he goes, oh, well, that's the other chick that I wrote about. And I'm like, hold on. So he, beat this girl, murdered their family dog, and now he's suing her for malicious prosecution, which is ridiculous. She didn't prosecute him. the DA did, right? Like, what the hell? So I reached out to her and started talking to her. And she ended up actually being very helpful. So I was outraged by this enough that I wrote a blog, and I was super upset. Like, how dare he? He can't do this. Like, this is disgusting. And Aidan had actually got his hands on that blog and rewrote it to make it more, of course, more about him. And during that, we had asked for money. So he raised, I think, $3,500 in a day. It was a fair amount of money. And he ended up paying his own legal defense. I was really trying to find her free legal aid and had a very hard time doing so. And so she ended up having her case dismissed, voluntarily by the plaintiff, and not a dime went to her. So, I said this at one point, and I'm talking too fast. I'm sorry. So I had said this to some people and said pretty much, like, he keeps telling people that he raised money and paid for this girl's lawyer. I don't know why he's saying that. He never did, right? So he goes on a tangent and he starts screaming about how he absolutely paid her legal fees. And we're going to go, and he went through 3 different stories. So at first, he said that his lawyer spoke for her at court. So, hold on here. Okay. So here we go. I'm slowing down for people like Stalbert. I apologize. I am an ADHD type. So here we go. So he says, on January 9th, in court, he stood next to her and spoke on her behalf. She wasn't paying for him to be there. I was. And I answered, so he entered appearance for her now, and that's why your story keeps shifting? And he goes on to say, we all saw him speak for her. Go ahead and pull the tapes, Matlock. So I actually do have the transcript from that court date. And so this is the first lie that he tells. His lawyer definitely spoke for her, right? And right here, we can see that the attorney said, additionally, obviously, I'm not representing her, but Miss Carden is here for the first time in this case. And without speaking for her, I think she does have something to say about removing the default against her. That is what he said. So additionally, obviously, because he was there on Aidan's matter, so he would have been there anyway. And he very clearly says that he is not representing this woman and that he is not speaking for her. So clear as day, he did not pay for that lawyer to speak on Sam's behalf. That is psychotic, right? So now he's going to continue to flail around, and the next lie comes. Okay. So I had produced an email where I had asked if I could pay this attorney to at least give her some legal advice because Aidan wasn't helping. And I can actually, as we're speaking, I'll pull up that email so that we are clear that I am not making this up. Because I was genuinely concerned that this woman was essentially getting railroaded by her abuser, and she was not going to be entitled to any counsel because it was a civil matter. And I called women's centers. I called legal aid. I called everywhere that I possibly could. And then finally said, like, I'll pay if I have to. And he said, I can't pay. I can't represent her because I'm already representing Aidan, but I would be happy to do a free consult. So let me go ahead and find this. Nope, that's not it. Let me try this way.
At least you've slowed down.
Yeah. I wasn't thinking I was going through my email today, honestly.
Hey, and while you're looking for that on this whole thing about paying, taking money, he actually, when I sued him, and I intend to sue him again, by the way, but when I sued him, he was raising money for that lawsuit, um, and then when it's all over, and I sent that blog to you earlier today, he blogged about how Margaret Milliken worked for him for completely for free the whole time. So in the comments, people were screaming about, "Hey, you kept asking us for money for this lawsuit, and now you tell us that you didn't pay a lawyer for it." It's just Kate Aidan being Aidan.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Found it. All right. The best laid plans, right? Like I try to be organized, but I'm not always. No, I don't. What the heck was that? So Chrome tab, my Gmail.
So AZ was just asking, you intend to sue him again? And yes, I do. And I think we know it would be him and well, his wife, by the way, because she also controls the Gmail account. So both of them, and as well as the Doherty High School drunken school teacher as well. So those three are going to see me in court soon.
So this is what I said. And I asked, I will be there on the 9th to support Miss Carden. Out of curiosity, how much would it cost me to consult regarding her current situation? I understand that you can't represent her, but I have been unsuccessful in securing her legal aid. Even the Women's Bar Association does not have the resources to cover a civil suit. I would be willing to incur some expense personally to help guide her in the right direction in the courtroom. And he responds by saying, which correspondence between Ryan and Miss Carden? Will Miss Carden be present on Wednesday? I don't charge for a consult, and I'd be happy with to speak to you about it. I'm in the office tomorrow if you want to give me a ring. So right there, right? He didn't show up to court on the 9th for Miss Carden. That's why he asked if she would be there. He clearly did not charge anything. He didn't charge Aidan anything like that. Like it just simply did not happen. And so that's where we go. And why I even remembered this is he starts, texting me about this because he can't admit that he didn't pay her lawyer. He did not do that. So he starts in with, he had asked his attorney for his statement, right, on legal fees. And he said, receipts coming soon. You lied about Sam and I'm going to prove it. Your email says he does a free consult. He doesn't write motions. Like you can't even make this shit up. And speak for free for you in court for free. So, I mean, he never wrote any motions for this woman. And he certainly, obviously, we just proved didn't speak in court. And this is what a prolific liar this guy is, really. So we know that he didn't speak. And this is the receipt that he's talking about. Now, we have his legal fee statement right here. And this is where it gets pretty outlandish. Okay. So there is nothing that mentions Samantha Carden over here until... until 1/10/2019, which is a day after the case against her had been dropped. Keep that in mind. So he drafts an affidavit of Samantha Carden. Then he travels to meet with her and notice meet with witness to review and sign the affidavit, right? So her case has already been dismissed. The receipts that he gives clearly identify her as a witness, but he's not done yet. So
he was giving an affidavit of the witness, not defending her at all. That was for Aidan.
Exactly.
And this is the word salad that he throws at everything, pretending that something will stick. And if you're not paying attention, that's how he slides by.
Yep. And I also have emails where, I helped his attorney track her back down so that she could sign that affidavit. So this is the sort of lies that this guy is telling. And, he had tried to bully me into essentially walking back on this and saying, no, he did pay legal expenses. He didn't pay a dime for that. And you know what? Honestly, he didn't necessarily have to. The blog did not explicitly state that he was going to be paying her legal expenses, which is why it's baffling that he started to make up the story that he did and started writing blogs like this one. Now, with a title like, "Thank you all for supporting us and Samantha Cardin and taking steps to fight back against Ryan Waters' domestic violence and animal abuse," I believe that most people would be under the impression that their money went to help this girl, victims of domestic violence and animal abuse, but it didn't. It just went into Aidan's pocket. And this is how deceptive he is, and these are the reasons why I left. Yes. And SRT2Go was right on top of it and said, Ryan dropped the charges on the 9th against Sam, right? Not a dime of this money that was raised, even though he says was, I shouldn't say says, but implies was raised for her. None of it went to her at all. Not a dime. So this is.
Didn't he go to Disney? Didn't
Yep.
he end up doing the Disney trip? Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And then and you know what I remember most about that whole Disney trip is he posted a picture to say how miserable he was. And in that picture, he's sitting there looking miserable like a total jerk, and his kids are next to him, and his wife is she's got her arms up trying to like make everybody happy. And if you looked over to the left-hand side of the picture, there's a whole bunch of people staring down at him because clearly he was a complete jerk to everybody, on the ride at Disney. Like, how can you act like that with your children? And how can you act like that at Disney? Just try to have fun. But no, he always has to be miserable. In fact, I think this was something that Jerry Callahan said about him with regards to having him on a show, is that he's the most miserable, unfriendly person he's ever met. Yeah.
So once he figured out that I wasn't coming back and I started to talk about the Samantha Cardin lie, and, all that stuff, I started receiving threatening text messages from him, the contents of which are, for instance, oh, Jake, this. So this is where he starts to threaten to release any information, as well as, making stuff up. Shit you've told us about neglecting your daughter. I've never said I neglected, like not currently, you know what I mean? That's just the tip of the iceberg. You ran your mouth a lot in that group. I've never broken a law. I don't cheat on my wife, which that didn't age well. There's nothing you can do to me. All right. And then he goes on to get even more psychotic and says, think about the effect this will have on not only you, but people you love and care about. Ashley, Courtney, Amanda. I got shit on all of them, Kate. If they contribute to fuck with my family and business, then I release everything. It's entirely up to you. Every choice you've made so far has brought you problems. Stop making dumb, selfish decisions. So his response to me walking away and not wanting to be involved with him anymore is he started to not only threaten reputational harm against me, but he started to actually try to hold my relationships with other people over my head. I don't understand where you could possibly think that it's appropriate. If you're going at me, it's one thing, but now you're starting to threaten people that have nothing to do with this otherwise. And spoiler alert.
You're not the only one, by the way. He went after one of my witnesses and threatened to go after her so she get fired, and that then her son in school would be ostracized. It's what he does every time. But I love your comment there. Yeah, that didn't age well. No, it didn't, which is the whole I don't cheat on my wife. Oops. You might want to watch what you put on your screen shares, buddy. That was kind of funny.
Please sub Need Clout. I'm sorry that you joined us so late, but I actually just shared text messages a little while ago where he begged me not to quit. So, I mean, that is a false narrative. I understand why Aidan is spreading it, but it's not true and it's not backed up by any evidence. I decided to leave. I don't even like to say quit, because a job is something where you have an actual reasonable function and get paid regularly. Neither of those things happen there. But I decided to walk away. So I'm sorry that you missed that text. Feel free to hit the Dropbox link below in the description after we're done, and I put it in there, and you can see for yourself. I'm sorry that you drank the Kool-Aid. This is what I mean. I mean, he's got absolutely these people that just believe every word he says, even though, like, we can sit here all night and just piece by piece dismantle these lies that he tells.
Well, and at one point I was publishing some minor blogs, and what he would do is mass report them because he didn't want anybody to know any of the, any contrary information to what he was actually, I guess the word would be spewing out, because it was just so disingenuous. It's not even funny.
Right. So at this point, he does start to go on and start threatening people. At this point in the game, and it's been a year, he has threatened and harassed, I believe, about 20 to 25 people that have dared to publicly be seen with me. And this is, I mean, it really is just absolutely crazy. This is some of the stuff that he would write. I can see you there with somebody's last name. And then, this is for the high crime of no comment on that. You're sharing her fundraiser or StreamYard links, so he's watching every single one of my broadcasts and has been for, again, 12 months now. And if somebody is seen commenting on it, he did it again to somebody else here. Look, hey man, were you on Kate's stream tonight? I mean, this is psychotic. He's literally watching every single broadcast that I put out, and he is bothering people and, arguing with them. Look at, he says, LOL, I saw you there on the other day, dude. Like, these are people that he doesn't even talk to on a regular basis, and he's questioning them as to whether or not, they're on my stream because he's watching one and taking down names. Like, this is not normal behavior. I'm sorry. I don't care who you are. It's not normal. Here's another one that he did here. Here's another one that he did. So you chose to be involved. You owe me an apology for taking part in this. You joined a cult leader, psychopath. I've done nothing wrong. Until you can accept that, you can fuck off. Don't fuck with me, Stacy. Like, this is nuts. And this is all over stuff on the internet. Like, all he had to do was just walk away quietly, just walk away quietly. And he could not do that. And instead, he starts just massively, just anybody that he can find, bombing them with these, ominous and kind of threatening messages just because they happened to talk to me. Oh, that's in reverse order. I apologize. So here's another one. And these are sent at like 1:30 in the morning. So this is really saying good stuff. He says, keep running your effing mouth. I've been gentle on you because the thing with Brett that didn't involve me, game over. You think Brett was bad? Fun is just getting started. What an effing dumbass you are, right? And she goes on to say, like, I didn't involve you. I don't know what you're talking about. I haven't talked to you. Show me where I'm involved. And he sends back one word, Gaffney, because she had commented something on Michael Gaffney's page, and you don't talk to people that Hayden doesn't want you to talk to, that he perceives it as enemies, or he's going to attack you. You remember this?
He's it's been nonstop. He still will rage text me at night from various fake accounts, but it's hilarious though. Like, the funny thing is, it's always about this Gaffney thing. And I'm behind every sort of thing that's ever gone on in his miserable little life. Like, anything goes wrong, like, I'm the guy that's providing legal services or money, or when he got porn bombed that time. Oh, that was my fault too. Like, no, like, it's not.
It wasn't. I know who that was because I was aware of it beforehand. I thought it was funny. like honestly, I'll be honest. Like, I knew that it was going to happen beforehand. I thought that it was poetically hilarious that he got, porn bombed with Josh Abrams' own penis while Josh Abrams is up there. I did not feel bad about it at all.
Well, don't have that guy on the show to begin with. You knew that he was a scumbag, and here you are bringing him on just so he could go after you because he's so obsessed.
Right.
Well, there it is.
Yep, there it is. And this, and just so that we know that no explicit. She goes, "What about Gaffney?" And he replies, "I saw your comments." Like, are you kidding me? You ran your mouth about me personally. She says, "You did nothing to stop your minions from harassing me." He said, "I didn't say anything about you. I will now." Right. I don't think it's a good idea. Trust me, it is. It will be. This is just in the wee hours of the morning too. Crazy. Ends it with toodles, and then ends up, later on writing a blog, because that's one thing that, if you talk to me in public, you are probably going to have all your information, your personal information, doxxed on the blog. It's happened to Stacy. It happened to Fixa. It happened to Doofy. You remember that, Doofy?
Oh, yeah.
Yep. It happened to another girl that went by Mega Karen. It went to Toast Malone. People that they have jobs, which is something Aidan doesn't understand about. They have families. They can't necessarily have all their personal information floating around there, but they do. And this is just, we could go on for days with all these unsolicited messages. This is somebody asking him to leave her alone, and this account obviously has been nuked, so that we can't even see what the messages were, but message after message, and this person is asking him to just leave her alone. Another time, here we go, he says, look, I made a video about Kate. Watch this video about Kate. Watch this video about Kate. And you need a health evaluation. It would get to the point to where literally anybody who was seen with me would get messaged, and sometimes their immediate family too. It's crazy. And one thing that they were getting messaged about is he made the accusation that I hacked into his Facebook account, wrote a threatening message to myself during a time that I actually did have a harassment order against him, and brought it to the police. So this is actually a pretty big lie that I wanted to dispel right now. So he went to 2 different police departments with this accusation. First, he went to the North Attleboro Police Station, which is where I live. And the North Attleboro Police Station actually thoroughly investigated this, although he does claim that they did not. They did, and we're going to show you that they did, and determined that there was no probable cause. So I'm going to give you the Cliff Notes, and we can certainly go through and read it on our own time if we are so inclined through the Dropbox. But here is some of the finer points here. Okay. So, on the morning of 3/4/20, I returned from days off to find emails in my email box related to this matter. In the narrative, Aidan Kearney reiterated that at approximately 1:30 p.m. on 2/29, a post of a threatening nature towards Catherine Peter was posted to his Turtleboy Sports Forever page. He was adamant that he had nothing to do with it, and offered what he believed to be proof that Peter herself was responsible for the post. Okay, so this is a pretty important line right here. It should be noted that Kearney reported to Holden PD that Peter had informed NAPD of the suspected forged comment when, in fact, she had not mentioned it at all. Okay, that is pretty important, because he ran with the narrative and for months, and still has, that this post went up. It was deleted 1 minute later, and that I ran to the police with it minutes after it was posted. And that is just simply not true. He also claims that it was an account named H. Paul that made this. Okay. Now, H. Paul, he claims, was just my account. I admitted to the police was just my account, blah, blah, blah. So no, H. Paul was actually someone else's account that I had previously used, and not used in a very long time. Aidan is aware that the police talked to this individual, because as we can see right here, Aidan actually provided the police with this person's number. Okay. And they spoke to this person. And this person said that, yes, they own H. Paul and another account. That he was the one who removed this account from the administrator on Aidan's page, because he didn't like the way that things were going between the two of us, and that he had also had issues with Aidan that that resulted in him asking, don't contact me anymore, right? So he already told the police, yes, I had access to the account. That's my account. It's an old account that I made a long time ago. I took it off and I did not make any post. And Aidan had told them before that he didn't think that he would make any post. I know that he didn't, right? So he went back and I actually ended up giving them a printout of all my Facebook logins, my IP addresses. I provided a printout of a text that I sent to Aidan, although I didn't directly state his name, in which I said, please remove my login from your site, channels, pages, right? So they ended by saying that contrary to his assertions, there is insufficient evidence of wrongdoing on the part of Peter to bring any charges. Furthermore, this department will not be compelled into misguided action by Kearney's antagonistic online posts. Should Kearney report anything additional, he will be referred to the Holden Mass Police Report or police for further investigation. The reason is that when they said we're not going to charge her with a crime that we have no evidence that she committed, Aidan initiated a call flood on this station through the internet so that people would call and harass them into charging me, which is, very frauditor like. And it was a huge inconvenience to my local police station. So that's the police report that came through and was with the North Attleboro Police. Unsatisfied with this, Aidan decided that he was going to go to the Holden Police again and file what is essentially a false police report. So, although he claims that the North Attleboro Police did no investigation, just took my word for things and left, and clearly they didn't. They spoke to him. They spoke to the other party involved. They looked through my login information and my IP addresses and everything else. Aidan went down to the police department and filed a report with Holden PD, and all they did was talk to him. They didn't even pull the North Attleboro Police report. Now, again, I'm going to go through some of the more fine details that are kind of important, and you can certainly look at this in your own. So, right here, this says, Mr. Kearney further stated to me that he was concerned about this post to a point where he contacted Sergeant Jason Roy of the North Attleboro Police Department to inform him that he was aware of the post and that he did not make the post. He further learned from the North Attleboro Police that Kate Peter had already been at their station to file a report regarding the post. How did he learn from the North Attleboro Police that I had filed a report regarding the post when they clearly state I had not? Why would he say that? Nobody has any guesses here?
Do we really have to say this? I mean,
Right.
It's kind of rhetorical, right?
Right.
Because all he does is lie. I thought you were asking a rhetorical question.
No, I mean, I think it's pretty clear here that he was trying to build a case. He essentially went and said that this post was only up for a minute, the same thing that he had said before. We can also actually disprove that, though, this is fun. So he claims that this post was only up for 1 minute. Let's look at this post. Now, I honestly didn't report it to the North Attleboro Police right away because I didn't even hear about it until several days later, at which point he had already claimed that, I had done this. So let's see here. Oh, it's going to be in a different. This is. Okay. Where is this? Here it is. This is the post in question. I wish that we could just not have that. Okay. This is the post in question. It states, Kate, I know you're watching right now. You fucked with my business, my livelihood, and family, you vile cunt. This is a promise. I will ruin your entire life, and I won't stop until everything you love is burned to the ground. You will suffer more than you have ever suffered before. You poked the turtle. Good luck, bitch. Now, at the bottom,
pretty consistent with his other threats. One might take note of.
But I want to take note of at the bottom here. How long from the time that this was posted to this screenshot was taken elapsed? Can anybody see? Bueller?
3 hours? Is this,
Three-
is this a trick question?
3 hours. Okay. I received a screenshot from 7 minutes after it was posted, and then an additional one from somebody after 3 hours. That post was not just up for a minute and then deleted. That was up for 3 hours. If somebody really accessed your Facebook page without permission, right, and went in and wrote a post like this while you have an active restraining order, why the hell in 3 hours could you not go back and find out who it was, right? And at some point, obviously, it was deleted, because when I went back to see it for myself, it was gone, but it was not deleted after a minute. This was clearly up for 3 fucking hours. 3 hours. So he went so far as to attempt to have me criminally charged. And when one police station said, no, we don't have enough, to go, there's no evidence of this, he went to another one that said, okay, we'll put in for a clerk magistrate's hearing. Now, that clerk magistrate's hearing has since come and gone, and it was dismissed, which I'm sure nobody is really that surprised about. But he has also made a false narrative claiming that it was dismissed due to jurisdiction. And we're going to go ahead and disprove that right now, too, that no, it was not dismissed because of jurisdiction. I will show you right here the answer that was given from the clerk magistrate, and it clearly says, finding an order after hearing, I find insufficient evidence and facts presented to support every element of the offense. Therefore, no probable cause to issue the application for criminal complaint. So they were very, very clear in saying...
You went way fast over that.
Okay. Sorry.
Insufficient evidence and facts presented to support every element of the offenses. Right. There wasn't even a scintilla. There was nothing. It was absolute. This right. Couldn't say more. It could. The only thing it could say harder would be that this is a complete fabrication, and this young man lives in a fantasy world.
Right. So what he has now done is he has gone in public and said she had to pay a lawyer. Joke's on her. I will continue to file this in different courts so that she has to pay for a lawyer. So he is clearly stating that he will continue to put me under this emotional distress, and that he will continue to financially harm me, because that's how he can get through it. And, the fact of the matter is he has made these allegations of this criminal conduct so many times, but he has never bothered to show the reports, because when you look at the 2 reports, you can clearly see that, yes, the North Attleboro Police, they investigated way above and beyond for this internet bullshit that it really is. They determined, that no, this didn't exist. At some points in that report, they actually suggest that some of Aidan's evidence he may have conspired to manufacture.
Okay, not sure what happened to Kate there. She might have cut herself off for a second, but we'll continue. The funny thing is also, yeah, and if you look at that Holden police report, the officer was like guessing at what he could possibly charge Kate with. It's actually kind of humorous. There's a whole paragraph on, well, it could be this, it could be that. It is so it's actually kind of ridiculous. But having known him long enough, when he lived in Worcester. The Worcester police used to joke about how he had him on speed dial for anyone that actually, might have hurt his feelings. Because he was, if anyone threatened him online, he was calling the police.
Right.
But there you go. So I'm sure Holden deals with him daily. In fact, remember he ran down on the Holden. He blamed me on sending out some postcards. So he went to the Holden police. He went to the FBI. He went to the postmaster. It was a hilarious bunch of events there.
Right. Now this is not redacted, unfortunately, and I would redact because my employer is in here. But he also accused me, and this is also ludicrous, of setting a truck in my work on fire on purpose to frame him. And no, that is not what happened. I will tell you right now what happened. I showed up to work one morning on a Monday, and the custodian at my work pulled me aside and said, "Hey, Kate, look at this." And he opens up the door to the pickup truck that he uses, provided by my company, to go around the property. And it's fucking burnt. The whole seat is just burnt, right? And I'm like, how did this happen? And he goes, I don't know. I was here on the weekend doing some painting on some of the units. I left, on Sunday morning. I come in this morning and it's like this. And I'm like, well, did you lock the truck? And he goes, I don't think I did. I can't remember. So I am like freaked out because this has occurred a matter of days after I obtained a harassment order against Aidan, and he was consistently making comments with the word burn in it. So I had gone into Discord and said, well, I posted a picture and said, like, this is weird. This creeps me out. I can't say that it is him, but the timing is really bad. And there was a guy by the name of Tom Deroisers that was consistently talking about my work. And I have those screenshots too. And he was consistently talking about I should become unemployable. He knows where I work. He knows the property really well. He claims he used to plow there. I don't have any record of him plowing in the last 25 years that I could find in my office. But, he was making a lot of comments and he claims that he's right down the street. And then all of a sudden this truck gets torched. So I didn't actually blame Aidan. I do have the police report, which I will add to the Dropbox. I'm going to redact some of my employer's information on there. But there were no suspects. They came out, they documented it mostly for insurance. They left. I never blamed Aidan. Like, they didn't suspect me. I was not, investigated for it. I also have my Google location data from that entire weekend. I was nowhere near my work, right? And I didn't explicitly blame him in public at all. I simply said, it's weird. And I will tell you because in particular, this Tom DeRosa guy was really making some creepy comments about me consistently and my work. And it does, I think it's pretty reasonable that at some point you'd be like, did this guy just really set my work truck on fire, because he can't stop talking about my job. So I will show you guys those screenshots as well, a sampling of the Tommy D saga. You remember Tommy D, Doofy?
Hey, he's a fucking clown.
Yeah.
It's like the rest of his fucking turtle riders.
Not a fan. All right. So here's Tommy D. And Tommy D just starts talking about my job ad nauseum, to the point to where actually Brett Kalorn, who's not a fan of mine at all, said, this is the second time I've seen you allude to contacting her employer, just pointing that out, right? Total lies. Wow, maybe it's time she become unemployable. Let me go back to another one. I mean, we have a lot of screenshots on this guy just talking about my job. Right. He says again, Justin and Mitch are 100% just as evil as this nasty skank. The funny part, has this really affected her? Like her job? Would really suck if that came into play, as well as, everything else. If she got an RO, that's cool. My name isn't on it. So there's that. And this is right around the time that I walk into my work and my work truck, not mine, but a truck at my work has been torched. I didn't blame anyone, but it's hard not to think that, right?
And I'm just looking at this. That's Terrence Colley. That was Paul Collier. No, not Paul Collier. What's his name? Paul. For crying out loud! Maxwell. There you go.
Yeah.
P. Edward Maxwell.
Yeah.
That was his account that Aidan used to use all the time.
Yeah. So here's somebody else pointing out to him, Tom DeRosa, calm down. No one needs to go fucking with her job. You know why? Because Aidan will have to answer for that. He will be blamed, not you. By doing something like that, you're only making it worse. So even his own people were like, hey, can you stop talking about her job? So, again, I didn't blame anybody specifically for that. It just was really, really, really horrible timing, and I think it would make anyone nervous. And I certainly I didn't set a work truck on fire. That's just nuts. There's absolutely no evidence of that. That is 100% just defamatory, absolutely defamatory. Speaking of threats and everything else, I did want to let you guys know, and I did get his permission. I spoke to him today. It was his idea. So Masshole Mitch has been gone for a long time. And at this point, I can pretty safely say that although he does toy around with the idea of coming back, it's probably never going to happen. And there's been some speculation as to why. So on the subject of jobs, the issue with Mitch was that Aidan decided during this guilty by association tirade that he's been on for a year now, that he was going to dox Mitch's real name and go after his job. And he started very publicly threatening his job to the point to where he's got a family, he's got a house, he's got bills that he has to pay. He certainly can't burden his wife with, the expenses. So it was in his best interest to concede to what Aidan wanted, and essentially disappear rather than end up with, anything happening to his job. So I do have some of the clips of Aidan doing this. And I'm not mad at Mitch at all. He's still a good friend of mine. I have nothing against him personally. Like, your job comes first, your family comes first. I understand that. But this is kind of the stuff that Aidan was doing with that.
She's full of shit. And she's going to burn every fucking bridge. And it's great to see it because Masshole Mitch is gone. He's not Masshole Mitch. He's Mike from Reading. That's what he is. And Mike from Reading's not coming on there because he knows if he continues to go on there and participate in this charade, I'm going to find out who he is and I'm going to expose his ass too. Because if you're participating in that shit, you are my fucking enemy. Just understand that. You are my fucking enemy. And I will never, ever get over it. I will never fucking get over it. So I will always fucking hate you if you participate in this woman's delusions. This woman tried to send me to fucking jail and I will never, ever, ever get over it. So fuck off. So all the people in the comments say, oh, you can move on. Nope, ain't going to do it. As you can see, I can move on. And we talked about a lot of shit before this. It's been an hour. But this is always in the back of my head. This bitch will not get away with this shit. No fucking way. That's what I do. I do revenge, baby. That's my fucking specialty.
And we got to sort it out. So
all right.
He just posted it where you guys can find the podcast. So that way you guys can voice your concerns.
Yeah. I love this. Look up Masshole Mitch real name. Oh, interesting. See that? That's very interesting. That's interesting. Delete Connecticut's comments, please. Masshole, please, 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 please. She's trying to cover up Masshole Mitch's real name. She doesn't like that it's out there. She doesn't like that it's out there. What? Kate, why should Masshole Mitch be anonymous? You tell me that. Why should that little bitch boy be anonymous? You want to fucking hang out with Kate Peter? A woman trying to send me to jail? No. Fuck him. Fuck his bitch ass. He signed up for this shit. At least Justin had the fucking dignity to walk away.
And so I want to point out right there that this is when he really starts putting out his job and saying it would be really bad if something happened to his job. Here's where he works. Oh, he would really, hate it if his work was being contacted. And like, he was never doing anything wrong. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like my work knows what I do on my free time with this YouTube stuff. It's nothing that in and of itself is going to cost you your job. But if you have enough people phone bombing your job, it can put you in a bad position. And Aidan knows this. This is a man.
He does. He does that. He constantly he'll put in blogs like, we're not telling you to call this person's employer, but here's this person's employer. He was going to do the same thing to a witness that I had, as well as other people. Mm-hmm. He will try to get you fired. Will go after you. His comments there of what he's been doing forever. I just have to stop for a second though. Like that basement. I mean, that banner. I just can never get over how much of a piece of trash he is. But that's what he does, and he's going to continue to do it. And here he is now. And I just for a second, here he is now talking about his depression and mental illness and all this other stuff and crying like a whip. And you hear how he wanted to destroy people as though he deserves any sympathy at this point in life. He doesn't. He doesn't deserve any sympathy. He
hasn't stopped is the thing. I mean, as recently as last month, he contacted Polly Crispy and his extended family, right? I mean, as recently as last month, as recently as a couple days ago, he was responding to comments that were 11 months old. I mean, that is psychotic. He shows up in every live stream where I am, where he isn't blocked. At one point I was on Kenny Klein's live stream. It was probably 1:30 in the morning. There were maybe 30 people in the room and he pops up there again just to talk a bunch of trash. He will not leave me alone. I mean, as we can see, just from, the file here, here, let me go ahead and share that instead.
I mean, I do believe that he suffers from mental illness. I don't believe the mental illness is depression. That clearly not. He's.
I don't presume to diagnose him. I do know that depression doesn't make you a vindictive, hateful, cruel person.
Well, and actually, mental illness doesn't make you a hateful, evil person
Right.
either. Being
Right.
a hateful, evil person makes you that.
Right. But I mean, these are just, all the screenshots that we have here of people just being contacted by him unsolicited. They don't even know him. And if you want to know what his motivation was, he did say it himself in person. I mean, in public at one point, and that was this, that he wanted me to shut down my YouTube channel in its entirety, agree not to start another YouTube channel for at least 6 months, and never mention him moving forward. Okay. And for the most part, I have not mentioned him moving forward. I have not received the same courtesy, but no, I was not going to shut down my YouTube channel and bow to this. Like some free speech advocate. Are you kidding me? He wanted to infringe on my ability to create content because I didn't want to play in his ball court anymore.
And I'm looking at this comment. Interesting timing, Kate. You're disgusting. Oh, do you think for a second Aidan was trying someone on to like commit suicide that was down? Do you think Aidan wouldn't be, he's just.
Yeah, let's talk about
him and his little trolls. That's probably actually him crying anyway.
Yeah, that I'm disgusted. I'm just putting out facts here. I am not attacking him at this juncture whatsoever. I have made not one, overtly negative or derogatory comment about him. I haven't talked about his children.
I haven't.
But... Oh, you have, but I'm saying I haven't, right? Do you think that he cared about my life and how I felt when he was contacting all of my friends and family in the wee hours of the morning? Do you think that he cares about my poor children that have been drugged through this? They're school aged. They have lost friends because he has spread the lie that I am a child abuser, and I can prove that. And this is something that I did not want to do because I felt that it was inappropriate, and I'm not going to. This is probably one of the most difficult things that I could possibly do. But this is why I have, started to pursue legal action against him. I do have actually receipts of, for legal costs that I've incurred. I've gotten some help. Gaffney is somebody who's helped me. I appreciate that, but I actually have gone out of pocket on this already. It's not a fabrication, but I'm going to clear this up right once and for all. So Aidan claims that I beat my child to the point of being bruised, and that there was a DCF report open, a case opened on me for beating my child. These are the medical records from the incident that he is discussing. And so I did want, it's so fucked up that I'm even doing this. So I did want to point out right off the bat that I took her to the hospital because she had bruising and I could not get an explanation about it. Right here, we can see that they do note no inflicted injuries noted. Not only did I not beat her, nobody did, but I didn't know that. So I took her to the hospital. And as far as DCF being involved, yes, they were called. And as we can see down here below, this line right here, mother did grow concerned and contacted Massachusetts DCF, who did evaluate the patient and family today. But with her overall presentation, she was referred into the emergency department for further evaluation. Okay. So yes, DCF was called because I called them, because my child was bruised and I didn't know why. And again, I'm going to go ahead and say this is, they did fax something over because there was bruising here. Oh, sorry, wrong one. They did fax something over to CPS because there was bruising. And I want to point out right here, patient with significant bruising, unable to give explanation, has history of running away from home, whatever. Has new boyfriend as well. Mother of patient concerned about, DV, because I didn't know what happened to my kid. And denies abuse by anyone, reports bruises as from climbing out her window to sneak out. On physical exam, no pattern of bruising to suggest they were inflicted. So they weren't inflicted. And long story short is that, yes, my kid was sneaking out of her window. And it's about a 5-foot drop up and down. And so she was bruising, and she obviously didn't want to tell me at first that she was sneaking out of her window at night. So we did go to the emergency room. I did, file with CPS because I didn't know if somebody was hurting my kid. I was afraid that someone was hurting my kid. But there you go. Like, those are my kids' medical records. I should never, ever have to do that, though.
Not
I
at
may
all.
be a quasi self-appointed public figure, but my children are not. Okay. And this is the most malicious, nasty rumor that you could ever put out. And it is very clearly documented. I have never abused my children. I have made plenty of mistakes as a parent, and I have been forthright with you people, even though it's nobody's business, really. But this is disgusting that you would say this. My daughter has her own shit to deal with, and she is mortified about this, and he can't leave her alone. He can't stop talking about her. He has called my 11-year-old son a sexual deviant. He has accused him of being a pedophile. My son is 11. He's never met this man. He has nothing to do with him at all. He is continually attacking my children because he knows it's going to hurt me.
And here you are. You have to put this out to respond to him, because what he does, and I said this at the beginning, he takes the items completely out of context. The children were the daughter had bruises. That's a fact. She had bruises. DFS was called. That's a fact too. But none of those meant anything that he actually created the fiction around. It's like a childlike thinking. Like, okay, I'm going to take this fact and that fact, and I'm just going to make them into this whole story. I'm not exactly lying when I say this and that, although obviously he went down another road with regards to your son. But he just takes those elements. And as I said, my parents, I wasn't invited to my parents' funeral because they hate me. Again, my dad is alive. My mother was cremated. So the facts are true. I didn't go to the funeral. There wasn't one. Just like the facts here are true. Yes, they were called and they ruled everything out. And the hospital saw your daughter, and there was a reasonable explanation of what occurred. It's ridiculous that you have to explain it, but this is what he does to pretty much everyone. And I think, and I don't want to take too much time, but I think, when we look at it, when you were working with him, you were great. You were the greatest thing on earth. In fact, I kind of blame you, because when I left, he was in a downward spiral and he was done. And then you came and you propped him back up and gave him another year or so of life. And now here he is again, crying in a corner. But he cannot stand when somebody either walks away or otherwise, and now all of a sudden they're totally, it's like a psycho ex-girlfriend. I hate to say that, because women are going to think that I'm being sexist there, but the person's like, all of a sudden their last boyfriend was the greatest thing on earth, but now there's the breakup, and now you're just, here's all the horrible things that happened. He beat me, he did all these things, and none of it makes sense. But you get tired of arguing it. Another thing though, is, what's her name? Is it Leah Gendruzzo or something like that?
Yeah.
Now, I used to see like his articles about her, and I didn't read them. I just, you read the caption, like he created her into this, like, I don't know, drug abusing woman that was sleeping her way up to the police force, and this horrible user, whatever that fiction he created. Suddenly, he gets enamored with her on a show, and now she's the greatest thing on earth. Like, what was true? So are you admitting that everything about her you said before was a lie, but now she's on your side, so now she's great?
Right.
So I've always been waiting to hear the story about how he messed that all up. Like, no, like I was completely mistaken, but I don't think he's ever actually done that either. It's just if you're with him, great. If you're against him, then there's no low that he won't go to.
And no end to it at all. Because again, like I was like, this has been a year, and he follows me everywhere online. He's contacting everybody I know. He continues to repeat over and over and over again these malicious. I searched my name on his turtleboysports.com website today. 59 blog entries came up. 59.
I guarantee I've got more than you. I guarantee it.
Well, I mean,
And
with time.
I've moved. I've been gone for 3 years, and I think he did an article like what was it, in June or something of last year, how I'm living the high life in Florida. And then he had to like spend probably half the article explaining who I was.
Right.
It's like, I'm gone. Leave it, but you can't.
His platform is 100% at this point used for his own personal vendettas. He doesn't let truth get in the way of a good story. He absolutely is it's a weapon to him. Oh, this is another thing this is another lie that he said I told. And one of his rationales for waging war against me is he claims I do not make $100,000. And I certainly never said that. So obviously I just pulled this number out of my ass, right? I don't make close to that. So of course he's going to disprove himself, and we're going to show that because that's what we do. So we're going to share the screen on this one. And this is again, I just pulled the fact that he made $100,000, even though he begs for money all the time, out of my ass. He never said that. He would never say that. Absolutely not. Right? Wrong.
I don't know. We'll get into, this is insane. Obviously, it's insane on their part too, because they've made off of the transaction, just like, because they take like a percentage, like around 5%. And so basically, I mean, I've probably had in that account, like, cause all the money from advertisers goes through there. Donos come through there. I pay bills using PayPal often. And, probably I'm guessing over $100,000 in a year has come through there, right? Because this is a business, and like literally almost all money comes through PayPal.
That's so I thought that I just pulled that figure out of my ass and made it up, and he never said that.
He can't even fact check himself.
And SRT2Go brings up a good point. I don't have this clip yet. I'll get it and throw it in the Dropbox. But at one point when this pandemic started, he was publicly talking about collecting unemployment. That's fraudulent. You have $100,000 going in and out of your business PayPal in 1 year, but you're going to go on unemployment?
Yeah, I don't want to speculate too much, but all of a sudden, let's just what's going on currently. So he loses his big case about how he's going to take you down after trying in 2 different venues, gets crushed there, then gets caught on the internet on a live stream. And it was the funniest thing when he got caught with that girl. He pulled up her messages to like talk about how it would be good sex. It sounded like he was making a business transaction. I don't know what he was offering, drugs, money. I don't know. She didn't look like she was really interested in him, by the way. And then Brett Killoran, the Toothless Wonder, there was trying to like talk him back into the show, and he was just out of his mind. I think actually his picture was in the promo for this, when he was just sitting there, just shocked at the fact that he got caught. Yeah, Kimberly Lynn, thanks, Toast. So and then all of a sudden, the holidays are over, and as a divorce attorney, I'm not saying that I'm not making any. I'm just saying, as a divorce attorney, you find most people after will try to stay together through the holidays for the kids, and now here he is. Wife gets a restraining order, and from that person over in Rhode Island, and all of a sudden, Aidan's talking. I can't do my show. I can't blog or anything else. And it wouldn't surprise me, because I see this so much. And I'm just saying, as a divorce attorney, and by the way, a little side here, I am not licensed to practice law in Florida. I would see that, like, as soon as one spouse says to the other, it's time for us to move on, then the other spouse suddenly is unemployable, has all this other nonsense going on. I'm just speculating. I'm not saying this is the case, but there's a lot of there's just a lot of stuff that aren't lining up, because he is certainly not, despite putting out a blog about how he needs to take a break. He's not taking a break. He's still pushing other things out. He still keeps going on the internet, and still doing his stuff even as we speak. I think he was doing a show tonight. Somebody sort of said so. I don't know what's going on, but it's certainly is interesting.
Here's I have the beholder, and I know that you have come from Turtleboy, so thank you for joining us. If I thought my children were mentally unwell because of actions through YouTube, I'm sorry, I would have to lay off the YouTube for my child's health. This is not like he is doing this, right? Like he is the one who, and frankly, I haven't talked about this man. I can say for the what did I say, 59 blogs that come up under my name, the almost 24 hours of recorded footage that we have him talking about me, I can count on one hand the amount of content that I have put out that even mentions him. One, when we first split up, I did a very compulsory damage control, trying to smooth things over. Oh, we should have handled the split better, but I hold no ill will, right? That didn't work. So we stayed quiet for a while. Two, then I made a video at one point where he had actually recorded me secretly on the back end of a StreamYard. I did not even know he was there. And then he disseminated that recording. And then when I tried to go to the police about it, he said, oh, no. They knew I was watching them. But he had said in a live show previously, they had no idea I was watching. So I made a video to point that out. Three, I made a video where Teresa Richard called the North Attleboro Police Department records because he fabricated an entire arrest for me, claiming that I was arrested for assaulting my own daughter, that she was removed from my care, and that's why I didn't do a live show. So Teresa called and said, was she arrested? They said, no, she was not arrested, right? Because I was not arrested. I do not abuse my children. My daughter was not taken from my care. He claimed that my daughter was out of and demanded that I produce her, which is bizarre. I don't really put my children on the internet, and certainly not my daughter. Because, she is a girl, but, on the internet, but I'm going to put her on the internet because Aidan wants to see my teenage daughter. Like, that's creepy. He then contradicts himself a few days later where he pulls the police responses from my house and reads out a child in trouble response from December 29th that came to my house. And not that I owe you people an explanation about that, but he can continue reading off the police responses to my house. I don't give a shit. If my daughter is not where she is supposed to be, I'm calling the police to find her. It doesn't matter if she's been gone for an hour or 3 hours. I am calling the police to find her because she is my daughter and I need to keep her safe. Okay. And that is none of your business. And I don't care how many times you go over, how many times they show up. If I have to call them every day to go find her, your opinion does not matter to me more than my child's safety. So fuck you, honestly. But, he claims that she's not in my house and then tries to hold against me that the police showed up for her at my house. Like, just absolute fabricated lie, easily debunked. I was not arrested. I've actually never been arrested in North Attleboro, period. But, he does that. So I did a video to refute that. I wrote one blog mocking his reaction to the porn bombing situation because he acted like it was a sex crime, right? And I'm doing this tonight. So that's 5 times versus almost 24 hours of recorded footage talking about me, 49 and counting blogs where I am mentioned or written about. I would say probably hundreds of pages of comments and text messages and messages to people surrounding me. And I'm actually going to show you, as soon as I can pull this up, that he is still commenting, he is responding to comments about me from 11 months ago now. Like just the other day, this happened on the 28th of January. So, this is how recently he is still obsessed with this. He will not leave me alone. So let me see if we can get this up here. Yep, here we go. So this was shared with me by a subscriber, and she said, thought you guys and ladies would like to know that Aidan is going into old comments from 11 months ago, and she shows us that, she had written a comment 11 months ago on his page. Hold on.
Do you want to lose that banner from Eye of the Beholder there?
Probably. That's why we have you around. Thank you.
Trying to be useful.
And Michael says it's not the police's responsibility to chase your kid down every day. Well, you know what? They don't mind doing it. And it certainly is an added support for me. So, you can go fuck yourself twice. Let's not forget.
It actually is their job, by the way. That's
right.
Exactly what their job is. That's called policing. But thank you.
And sorry. So yeah, I mean, he comments on this old comment and essentially says, 11 months later, how does it feel to know you left to follow a child abuser? Which I don't abuse kids. And a lot of people did leave to follow me per se. They left because he's a narcissistic douche whistle. I mean, that's what happens. Right. I mean, this is just absolutely relentless at this point. So, I mean, obviously I wanted to put out my side. No, number one, because I'm really sick of reading and hearing about all this stuff. And there's like a lot of stuff that like I get sent and it's being monitored because obviously this is becoming a legal issue at this point. He's absolutely made it abundantly clear that he has no intention of stopping, that he will never stop. He said, I do revenge. That's what I do. She's going to suffer. You know, he's made it very clear that he's not going to stop. So
he won't stop. I mean,
right.
Just trust me. I mean, it's been how long, and he still blogs about me. He still tried to. I think he more recently tried. He was trying to get me. He made through one of his minions there. Some moron that filed a complaint against me here in Florida. With the bar. I'm not even licensed in Florida, and I know they tried in other states too. And it's just the thing about him that you also keep in mind is it doesn't matter if he was the most successful person and he actually did pull off becoming the next Barstool. If you were still alive and doing well, that would just consume him so much. That's he doesn't care about anything other than destroying others because he's, I don't know, I think he's hollow inside and don't really care, but it is what it is.
You know what also has always disturbed me about this, honestly, is he's doing all this over such a, like, really, when you look at our subscriber count, when you look at our views, like, we are such small potatoes, really, honestly. And I'm not just being like false modest or anything. Like, as far as the internet goes, like, this is a grain of sand in the ocean. Like, this is not anything that should provoke this intense feeling of jealousy and being threatened. You know, I mean, he just seems to be running on rage and jealousy and how dare I have a YouTube channel and how dare, and he'll do whatever he needs to do to force me to shut it down and silence me over something that, like, we're not even a threat. We're not even a threat, you know.
He felt the need to write a blog about me, like I said last year, because there were pictures of me by my car down here in Florida, and I was doing well. I mean, that triggered him. Like, that's, so your success is what just drives him nuts, and it doesn't have to be major success. I swear to God, you could, if you won $100 lottery ticket, he would lose his mind. It's just. He can't control himself.
And these are the people that follow him. When all their arguments fail, now we're down to go fuck Gaffney again. I've never had sex with Gaffney. We live in different states. I consider him a friend at this point. I think that he's a good guy. At one point, I engaged in, you know, mocking and harassing him too. I feel bad about that. You know, he was portrayed a certain way to me by Aidan, and the truth is really, you know, far removed from it. He has a, you know, what I know of his family, they're lovely too. They're just good people. But that doesn't mean that we're having sex or even, you know, like he's married, like, as am I. Like,
remember when it was I shouldn't say we, but all right. So Stacy and I sort of, to clown him, pretended she was coming down here to Florida, and immediately on his show, there he was, like, oh, look, she's going down there. They're going to fuck. Like, oh my God, dude, you just, why, first off, why would you care? But it's just kind of funny. What's this, Toast? Can we talk about Aidan cheating on his wife? Display the video, perhaps? We already did talk about that. So
yeah, I will show the video as well, because he's surly. And you know what? I can understand, like, his followers will get upset and say, oh, his marital issues are too personal. But I mean, so is my entire life that he's thrown out there and added so much filth on top of, you know, like,
his career has been to destroy other people's marriages and they get into their personal lives. So now all of a sudden that's taboo and off limits. That's a ridiculous argument. That's specious.
I also wanted to circle back around. I know that Aidan's good minion, good follower, Eyes Open, who really deserves a big pat on the back and a cookie for being such a good troll, told me that, if they thought that their family or child was suffering due to the internet, that they would just get off YouTube, right? And so I just want you to hold that thought, right? So if your family is suffering because of, blogging or YouTube, then you should get off, right? And take care of that. So let's see how Aidan feels about that. Let's see how he feels about that.
Anyway, she goes on to say, restraining order issued. So she actually grants this order. Okay. And preliminary injunction hearing is on the 25th. So I call them up today. I'm like, I have to drive, like, their courts are not closed. You go to court down there. I got to go to the court and deal with this fucking animal. And the order, guys, was not just against me. Not just against me. Okay? Let's just put it that way. Two people had restraining orders granted against them by the judge. One person who has no clue who Ashley St. Angelo is and wants nothing to do with Ashley St. Angelo or the blog at all, and now has a restraining order out against them by this monster. So that's why, I have to move out, right? I'm like, I cannot keep doing this to my family. Like, it's not fucking right. Like, restraining orders now being granted against them.
Okay. So that's what Aidan would do. When he feels that his family is being affected, he would move out of his house. So, like, the family is not as important, because I don't know. I think that a lot of people in his position, if this kept happening, and he has been the recipient of dozens of restraining orders at this point, which would indicate that maybe you're the problem because you're the common denominator, right? But when you get to the point to where you're saying, I can't keep doing this to my family, would you A, stop doing it, get a job and support your family, or would you B, move out of your house and abandon your family so you can keep your shitty weblog?
Exactly. He would move out of the house and keep going. So it was the whole argument there that, if it's causing any injury, you should just shut it all down. But yet the hero, the mentor, Aidan here is whatever it is, cult figure that they made him into. He just abandoned his family. I mean, that would be it. And frankly speaking, he wouldn't do either. He just let them suffer along with him, and they have for years now.
Right. And I mean, do I feel bad that his wife had a restraining order slapped on her? Yeah, honestly, I do, because I know for a fact from my time knowing him, she doesn't have anything to do with his blog. She hates it. All she wants him to do is get a real job and actually parent their children. That's all that she wants. That's all that she's ever wanted. Yeah,
she does, but she's allegedly on that Gmail account. I mean, she's part of the blog. It's gone out of it's out of her house. No, if she wanted that would have happened. But she doesn't. She deals with it. She lets it happen. And now she's part of it. I don't feel bad for her at all. In fact, as I indicated, she will be a defendant at some point.
Well, I mean, she is now. And and again, he really plays this narrative that he's somehow a victim of the court systems because people keep getting restraining orders on him. But I don't like what he's failing to miss is that, like, that's not normal. Like, that's not typical. You call me a garbage bag. People are not getting restraining orders against me every month. You know what I mean? I mean, God, even Alex Jones is not the recipient of dozens of, restraining orders in the course of a year. Like, these are just people over and over again. When you are constantly having people take out restraining orders on you, like, yeah, you probably have done something wrong.
But then he likes to brag how he wins every one of them. And we both know that he doesn't. He cuts deals. And I know more than one that he's actually cut, not just restraining orders in some of these lawsuits. So he'll pretend like I'm 10-0. You're not 10-0. You're at best you're 6-0-4 because you cut a deal. So that's another one of his nonsensical lies. If you go into a harassment order and you agree to stop harassing someone, that's not you winning in court. That's you actually, basically admitting you're harassing them, and you're cutting a deal. So that's another one of his little, as we know, his disingenuous statement.
Right. Yeah, I mean, just, it's just crazy. And it really, like, it again, like, I get to the point where I start to worry about, like, how far is this really going to go? Like, when is it going to stop? Because that's really all that I've wanted this whole time is, like, I just want to do my stupid YouTube channel. And I feel genuinely, like, guilty sometimes because it's like, I don't, at no point, no matter how hard that it's gotten, and how stressful and I'm pretty tough, but yeah, when you're getting a ton of messages from people you've never met, taunting you about some of the most painful things in your life and calling you garbage, like, after a while, like, it affects you. Like, I try to remember that it's just the internet and, these people don't know me. The people who do know me, know what my life is like today. And, but after a while it does wear on you. It really does. And it's just bogged me down. But I always told myself, I don't want to let this guy win, because if this behavior accomplishes what he wants to accomplish and takes me down, then the next person that he wants to get out of his way, or the next person that he wants to hurt, he's going to have that reinforcement that this behavior works. I don't want to show him that this behavior works. And, also, particularly with my background with, I was in a domestic violence relationship and all that, like, I don't want to usurp control over my own life just because a disgruntled man is telling me to.
And I just want to also point out that he destroyed a woman that had a dance studio. It was a ballet dance studio because her sister was feeding him with information. Obviously a family squabble, and we all know how what's the word I'm looking for? Loose he is with evidence. So the woman ended up selling her studio and moving and selling her home. So her husband and child left the area. And he wrote a blog celebrating how he had destroyed her life. So, and I don't know enough about the person to say whether she's a good person or a bad person. In all honesty, most of us are a bit of both at any time. But she certainly didn't deserve that. And yes, if he could do that to you, he would. In the meantime, he'd cry about how you're picking on him, but he would do that to you. So you are standing tall, and I encourage you to continue to stand tall. You've got a lot of friends, and you also have the Gaff Pack. We're all behind
I
you,
appreciate it.
and not going to take you down. He doesn't have the wherewithal to take you down.
I am so thankful for, all the people that I've met through this. And like, I appreciate the support. I know, like, I saw some super chats come in. I'm sorry that I didn't personally thank everybody. I'll go back and give you a shout out or something. I appreciate everything that you guys do. I don't even know. It's just a lot. It's just a lot. And especially the way that, like, my kids get brought into it.
Well, from a person that's been dealing with his nonstop harassment since the day I told him that I would no longer be part of his life and kicked in his little abandonment issues, you've actually hung a lot stronger than anybody I know. You asked me tonight to come on the show, and it was kind of taxing for me to even look at some of his nonsense. And here you are with 700 pages of evidence and things that you've gone through and prepared for. You are one heck of a person, and we all appreciate you for that.
Yeah, I know, like, I hate giving the satisfaction. The one time that I really did break down over some of this shit, like, he sees me upset and he revels in it, or, he'll pick it apart and she's not really upset. She's evil. Like, guys, half the stuff that he's saying, like, is demonstratively not true. And I have all this evidence and, it's sitting right there. And the fact that people believe it anyway, and it just gets spread and spread and spread. Like, there's enough shit about me. Okay. I am not perfect. I'm a pretty shitty person. Like, I understand that, but.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? Hey.
We can.
Hi. Kate, it just breaks my heart to see you cry like this, because the people that don't know the whole story and they're force-fed, the manipulation by Aidan. I mean, anybody, I really urge you guys to look in the Dropbox, read the transcripts just from Gaffney alone. I mean, anyone that's been around a long time will know the stories he's told about Gaffney. When I took a step back and took it upon myself to read those transcripts, it was completely different the way it was portrayed. I'm sorry, it was. And that's a whole nother story. Kate and herself, and like, let me tell you something. I know Kate in real life. This internet stuff, you might hear stories of her past or whatever, but we all have something in our past that, is not the greatest. It depends on who you are today. And Kate's a good person today. Her kids love her today. And I'm just making a plea, man. Just leave her kids alone. Like, for the love of God, they don't deserve any of this, any of it, It really sucks. Like, we would go to Toast House over the summer and I would, talk to Kate's kids, and they were well aware of what Aidan was doing, like, they're not stupid. I mean, imagine being a teenage girl and having to go to school and have your friends know about, like, it's so heartbreaking to know that this person is hurting children above all else. And like, it breaks my heart to see you that upset. It really does. I hope you guys wake up and, really look into this. I mean, I watched the man lie before my eyes in court. He said we were all kicked out. That never happened. I mean, when you're a firsthand person in this, it is really eye-opening. Like, Gaffney, man, I'm sorry for all the jokes we made about you.
You know what's funny is when Aidan, when I actually, he found out that I was actually associating with Kate, he came out with that whole blog, and like, here's all the mean, horrible things Kate said. Well, I'm sorry, and I can maybe relate back to when you were in your 20s and dating someone, and they were just smearing the heck out of their ex, you know what I mean, and like, the person's the worst person on earth, and then they screw you over, and you start thinking, like, maybe that guy wasn't bad, or that girl wasn't bad, maybe it was the jerk that I was dating.
Yeah, like, he painted you to be this, like, monster. Like, it's just not even, like, Gaffney has been so nice, like, helping Kate and everything else. Like, and it's not even my enemy of my enemy. Like, you're like a genuinely nice person. So I feel bad that, all the jokes that, because I used to be a diehard Turtle Rider. I used to get on you. I used to make fun of you just because I thought you were a bad person. Like, that's the way it was painted, but you're really not. And neither is Kate. And if anybody, wants to, and this is the thing, Aidan says, like, oh, people like Ashley and them, they don't have a mind of their own. So, they're going to believe whatever Kate says. No, let me tell you something. That's the opposite. The people that follow Kate are the opposite of that, because we looked at the big picture. Like, yeah, there was some mistakes in the past, but is she like that now? No. Like, move on, dude. Like, the fact that it's a year later and we're still sitting here talking about this is, like, disturbing. It is. And I don't know how you stayed quiet for this long, Kate. In comparison to what he's done, like, literally, you've barely said anything. It's nuts.
Well, I didn't find it to be appropriate. And it's like, I just kept being, like, I would tell myself, like, just ignore it. And eventually he'll run out of steam. And it's like, no. And I mean, really, the fact that just a month ago he fabricated an entire arrest, it never happened, and then when it was confirmed that it never happened, he doubled down and lied and said, oh, the North Attleboro police told me they don't give out domestic reports. Like, no, that's not true. It's because it doesn't happen, and he's putting me in a position to where he wants me to prove a negative. Like, I can't, it's very, very, but it's very difficult to say, I can prove that I don't abuse my kids. I mean, obviously we saw some medical records, his whole story about me bruising my daughter, that's a lie. But, I've never been investigated for child abuse. I've never been arrested for child abuse. I've never been convicted of child abuse. I've never been suspected of child abuse.
So you're not, because your daughter told me the story myself. She literally told me, like, that she had bruises from getting out the window. Like, the fact that, like, and I could see the pain. Like, she laughs about it, but I can tell she doesn't think this is funny. You know what I mean? Like, these kids are aware. Like, we live in a digital age now. It's not where I don't know if he thinks they don't know or whatever. He just don't care, and that just speaks to even more of what a piece of shit person he really is. Like,
oh, he just doesn't care. He just doesn't care. I mean, he laughs about it. Or even worse, well, if you care about your kids, I would just get off the internet. Like, no, that is a false equivalency. My presence on the internet does not compel you to attack my children.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks for telling your story, man. And like I said, I think I'll go back in and I'll help you with the timestamps. Like, here's the timestamp where this is, where that is, because this is a pretty long stream, but there's a lot to go over. I mean, these people have no idea how much has really transpired, But yeah, man, keep your head up. Yeah, I've watched you soldier on this past year. I've looked at Kate a couple times, and been like, dude, I don't know how you do it. I would probably just given up. Honestly, like, this is crazy. And she'd be like, Ashley, I just do it for the next person. Literally, I can't fold because then he'll just keep doing this. And like that right there, man, Kate, you're a soldier. Don't listen to these people. You know what kind of woman you are now. You know, Gaffney, sorry I called you a Q-tip. My bad.
No worries, and it's that
You got
honestly,
jacked though, man. Definitely got jacked. You got jacked, kid. And your wife's in good shape, man. You guys look healthy. You're doing really good for yourself. And you know what? That's the best revenge right there. You're happy. Good for you.
agreed. That's why I had to write a blog about it.
Yep.
But honestly, yes, Kate has been amazing. In fact, I just was sort of ignoring the little puke for a while, just actually kind of laughing at him for continuing to obsess and write blogs about me, jealous blogs actually.
Yeah, he
and
did.
then,
He's like, look at his fancy car and his beautiful wife. Oh my God. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. He's hurting. Yeah, look at his fancy car. Oh my God. Like, that blog was so pathetic. It was.
It just screamed jealousy there, and so I was kind of out of it, and then Kate just kept soldiering on and fighting with him. That I reached out to her, and she did clown on me at first, but then we got to talking and it worked out just fine. So you've got a child sneaking around behind you there, Kate. I think she's thankfully she's muted.
I know, right?
So he got up to pee.
Is that Steven? Hi, Steven.
Yeah. He can't hear you. I can't hear you,
Yeah.
but no. I mean, I've stuck it out. Like, and guys, I'm sorry. I'm sorry when the content is inconsistent. I'm sorry that my heart isn't into it. Like, out of anything else, like, Aidan has sucked the fun out of this, and I used to love this. This is my hobby. And again, I think that's pretty clear right now. I don't want your money, guys. I appreciate, anything that you guys do, but what you're doing essentially is just supporting the channel. I'm not trying to make a buck off of this.
Yeah, I haven't seen too many complain about like the lack of content or whatever, but you gotta understand, like, you're literally putting your family first, getting everything in order, dealing with what you gotta deal with, and that's what's really important. You know what I mean? Above all else. So screw them.
Yeah.
You've been pretty honest, so thank you, man. And like I said, just go in the Dropbox, look for yourself, do your own research, stop believing whatever Aidan says. I'm urging all of you, like, look for yourself.
I like, as we're sitting here though, and I can't prove that this sock is him, nor can I not. I know it's connected to him, but they're threatening a welfare check. Like, go ahead, call one in. I got upset. Like, but that's what,
like I would really hang it. Like, I've met your kids, and you, like, if I had any inclination that I thought maybe you abused your kids, like, are you kidding me? I would never even talk to you again. Like, I don't know where this whole thing comes from, but it's just sad. They probably will, he probably will call one in because that's just the kind of person we're dealing with. But
I mean, it's been relentless. Like, at what point does this end? And again, such a small thing. It's been a year. Like, how can you not let it go after a year? I've met this man 3 times in person in my entire life. That's it.
Yep.
3 times.
I know.
3 times.
And he's very socially awkward in person, isn't he? I think he looked at his shoes the entire time.
I mean, so am I. To be fair, I'm pretty socially awkward.
Sorry.
What I thought was a little awkward is the first 5 minutes of meeting him, he was talking shit about his buddy Brett, and I thought that was a little off-putting to me. I was like, wow, I can't believe he really just said that to me. Like, I'm here getting my book signed, and he's talking shit about his co-host. So, but that's
because he's a narc, and he's always triangulating one person against another, and that's all he does. So
I just want to know, like, at what point is this going to end? That's really all that I want. Like,
you've wanted for a year. I know.
Right. I mean, at this point, when I'm hiring a lawyer and, just trying to put together a civil complaint, which, trust me, like, it's like snubbling. It's like shoveling when it's still snowing out, because it's like, he continues to just add more shit to the pile. But I don't want his money. I know he doesn't. I mean, he probably doesn't have much, to be fair. He seems to spend it as quickly as he makes it. I know he's got a $500,000 house. He's told me on several occasions that if he ever were to lose a judgment, he would just hide his assets anyway. And I have that in text too. But so I know that, like, going after him for money is unrealistic. And that's not really what I want. What I want is a definitive way to stop this behavior. Like, I just want the
He wants you
courts
to get
or
off the
somebody.
internet. He wants you to get off the internet, and you're not going to do that. So he
I'm
needs
not.
to
I'm not. I'm not
Yeah.
going
He
to do that.
doesn't want, no, he doesn't want you off the internet. There's the thing. Like, I'm sorry. If you got off the internet, he would lose his mind. I got off the internet and he lost his mind. He's still,
True.
he,
Well, no, he probably
he's
find
like,
someone else.
he wants to break up with you, but then wants you to still be there to take his abuse. That's what he is. And that he's
True.
he's not
Textbook
going to stop.
narcissist. Yeah. Yeah.
And if anyone hears that, is here that watches AZ's channel, I just want to explain that, like, she is also dealing with this too. And so she is also getting some swingback. Her family members have been contacted by one of Aidan's associates. She's being followed around the internet. Nasty rumors are getting spread about her. We won't call it wiretap, but that recording that was taken without our permission is still being disseminated around. So, like, there might be some bizarre stuff that shows up on her channel, and this is why.
Yeah, it all stems back to Aidan and his monkeys. But yeah, as of yesterday, Turtle Kate was in a Discord trying to smear me. But it's like crazy because I don't even think of the girl until she appears to people who are in my life. Like, it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. And I knew when I started my own channel that was going to happen, but it's really creepy that she found me by my voice before I ever showed my face, because I know how the YouTube algorithm works. So I never even connected the pages or even subscribed to any similar stuff. Like, I have no idea how she found me. That's so creepy.
Yeah, no, I like, just in the whole thing. I wanted to help AZ to promote her channel, and I couldn't even do that because I was afraid that this was going to spill over to hers, and it has anyway. Now, Brittany's asking a honest question, why come out with all this now? Well, like I kind of explained, it's because of the, just the recent activity that keeps going. What really set it off is Sunday, him or somebody that supports and had come in on a SAC account and started mocking me about taking civil action again. And I just snapped and I said, do you know why I'm going after Aidan? Because he won't leave me alone. It's been a year and he's terrorizing me and he's attacking and spreading rumors about my children. And yes, my daughter is struggling. She's troubled right now, but she's a great kid and she deserves privacy in sorting out whatever she's sorting out. And I understand that her issues are largely my fault. Like, you don't have to tell me that over and over and over again, but it doesn't change where we are now. And that child deserves to heal. So just leave her alone. I am so tired. That is why I am going after him. So I had teased this on Sunday and said, I think I'm going to lay it all out. Yes, I understand that he's claiming he's taking a mental health break. He doesn't give a shit about my mental health or the person who he goaded to kill himself's mental health or Gaffney's mental health or AZ's or any of my friends or any of my family or my children. So although I can empathize because I too have struggled with depression, it's not an excuse for anything that he does. And I'm
never
not
an excuse. Mental health is never an excuse to be an asshole. There just never is. I hate that excuse. And let me tell you something. I have to run, Kate. I'm so sorry, but I want to say one more thing. All you people who turn your backs on Kate because you were scared of Aidan, you're a bunch of bitches. I love you, Kate. I got to get going, but you did a great job tonight, man. I'm glad that you're finally speaking out. And anybody that, can stand by Aidan knowing that he's trying to harm her children, you guys can rot. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye, Gaffney. Bye, Kate.
Bye now. And as well as with AZ, I do need to move on as well.
I do as well.
Work in the morning. So,
me too.
It has been
Funny
a
how it
pleasure.
works.
Thank you very much for having me on your show.
Thank you for coming by. Thanks, guys.